What makes Javon Small so effective for West Virginia, and what have you seen?
Talent, 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 swagger, um, extremely uh, great ball handler, right-handed that can play left or right off the drive, uh, step back threes. Um, their team has a great swagger to them, and I think they get it from Javon. Um, he's just one of the best guards in the country. Scores it, and he scores it at all three levels. He's a great finisher, really good three-point shooter, um, and gets in the paint. So he's I haven't seen all the teams. We have so many teams; it's hard to keep track of them. But watching Colorado yesterday and studying them more this morning. That's a good team, extremely well coached team, and I really just love the way Javon plays.
Thank you, Chris. We'll go to Greg Bailey with KTRK TV. Greg, please go ahead with your question for Coach.
Coach, good morning. Quite a milestone for Jawan Roberts over the weekend. How would you measure his impact on this program and the progress he's made over his career?
Well, when he was a freshman that summer, I nicknamed him the Wanderer. We had a basketball camp, and I was doing a lecture for about 130 kids. And he comes wandering in right in the middle of my lecture, asking me about where class was, or what building it was, or what time it was, and that's when I knew that his marbles were a little bit different. But he's gone from that naive wanderer to an absolute pillar of this program. When you look back at this era that we're going through right now, you realize that the imprint that Jawan has in just about every area, whether it's defensively, rebounding, passing, scoring, and he's developed all that. That was not who he was. I liked him as a high school kid prior to his senior year because he had the makings, or there was something there that you could work with, but you knew it was going to take a lot of work and it was going to take time. So we redshirted him his first year, and then his first year of playing, I think, was during COVID. And I remember we played Boise State and they had a really good team. Jawan came off the bench and had 14 rebounds as a freshman. And it gave you a little glimpse into what was to come. And he's just gotten better every year. It's hard for me to talk about Jawan's progress without talking about the impact and commitment that Kellen has made to all the guys that play his position. Kellen's the only coach on our staff that only coaches one position. That's the four. And I think every four we've had here has made all conference. And that's not an accident. And J1 has studied under Coach Kellen now for 6 seasons, but he also had Fabian White and Justin Gorham. He just missed Devin Davis. And we go all the way back to Devontae Pollard. But every one of the guys at that position has developed into an all-conference player. And just really proud of the human being, compassionate nature of Jawan. But he's unique. He's unique, as they all are, but he's special in his own way too.
Thank you, Greg. We'll go to Ryan Monso from Go Cougs. Ryan, please go ahead.
I want to talk about Javier. Uh, he looks like he's more comfortable now with the groin, but is he now more confident coming off the bench?
Yeah, I would say so. In November, it's just hard for me to quantify to people that's never played the game how difficult it is to get back to the level you want to play with when you've missed almost 20 days. You don't come back the same player you left. It just takes a while. And you make a good point, Ryan, about the bench, because not only are you coming back, you're having, for the first time in 2 years, well, last year and this year, you're not the starter anymore. These kids are not machines. They're going to have bad games. They're going to go through some tough times. And, so, we don't sit and evaluate every mistake they make. We help them in their journey. And a lot of time that journey is going to have some potholes. You may have a car wreck here or there, but if you keep working, you'll work your way through it. And that's what Javier did. Those early games in November, he wasn't in a position to contribute to us winning in any of them. He's in a good headspace right now. He's able to practice and get through an entire practice now, and has been for a couple of weeks or more. We're already in the middle of January almost, but it's taken Javier a while. He's had to adjust to coming up, not being able to practice, then easing his way back into practice, then easing his way back into games. And then when you add in the fact that he was our starter, he was a starting center on a Big 12 team and one of the top teams in the country last year. Now he's in a different role. That's been a lot for him to have to digest and to work through. But, as coaches, we understood all of his trials and tribulations, and just stay positive with him and let him work through it and get there on his own. And I'm proud of the way Javier has handled some of the things he's had to go through. But our program takes care of each other. I so much believe in all these kids and what they can do. Part of my job is to get them to play at their highest level. And if it was that easy, then everybody would do it. But Javier is making progress. I still think his, he's had some back-to-back good games. But the thing I always get on Jay about, or always challenge him about, is game-to-game consistency. And that's something that he's just got to continue to work on. But it starts in practice. I've never seen guys have great practices and play poorly in games. If you have great practice, you may not come in stats. People that don't know a lot about basketball base how you play on your stats. I base how you play on how you impact winning. You don't have to have great stats to impact winning. You can do it in different ways. If you alter a shot, what stat column does that one go in? If you jump out and stop the ball every single time in pick and roll coverage, what stat column is that? So I know, and the coaches know, and that's all that really matters on how to evaluate these kids. And Javier's coming along. We just got to see him being consistent every day in practice, and it'll show up in games.
On the injury front, do you have a timetable on Ramon? Is it still around the 20th?
I don't know. I haven't checked with John. I talked with him today. We have some kids that have that virus is hitting us pretty good. So we talked about that. I haven't talked to him about Ramon's injury. It probably, he'll be back when he's ready.
Thank you, Ryan. We'll go to Manav Gupta from College Basketball Review. Manav, please go ahead.
Good morning, Coach. JoJo had his first double-double of his career. What have you seen from him, growth-wise defensively, this year?
Well, he's going to have a lot more double doubles if he stays out of foul trouble. Most of his production usually comes from ability to stay on the floor. But JoJo's a lot of guys have quick first jumps and quick second jumps, but JoJo's first jump is second jump and third jump is unique. He's, you know, we always have great length and athleticism on the court. And JoJo's defense, once he learned to, you know, he had to learn how to coverage call without fouling. You know, he was so raw when he got here, but he had so much ability. But being able to corral that and tame it and break him from having some bad habits, you know, it's just taking a lot of work. But JoJo deserves a lot of the credit for the progress he's made, and it's still a process with him. But there is no progress without the process, and part of the process is failure. And I tell our guys, learn to fail, and then learn from failure. It's such an important part of athletics and skill development and competition and winning, is learning to do both. But your effort has to be high regardless. So JoJo's one of those guys that comes in every day with great body language, great attitude, and that allows him to improve. He's a tough kid that really wants to be good at this, and he's getting better.
Thank you, Manav. We'll go back to Chris Baldwin, please. Chris, please go ahead.
Kelvin, what's made the defense, start clicking more and more for this group, and how have you seen, this team improve defensively since November?
How have I seen this team improve? I don't even know how to answer that. We just keep improving. I mean, be more specific.
I was specifically talking defensively. What have you seen the biggest strides this group has made?
Just cohesiveness. When you're playing 2 games every 17 days, it's tough to get the cohesiveness that you need. And then November, we had a new guy in there that was replacing, one of the best defenders I've ever coached. But, like I've always, tell you guys, I don't worry about replacing players. Hopefully now you understand why. You're always going to have to replace players. Next year, you're going to be asking me how you're going to replace this guy or that guy. I'm going to give you the same answer every year. I don't worry about it. I just don't. I'm sure people in November thought this team was going to not be very good because we lost Jamal, or our defense can't be as good because we lost Jamal, or our offense can't be as good because we lost Marcus, we lost Quentin, we lost Jarris. If you got good players, they're eventually going to leave. Either if they're really good, they're going to leave after 1 or 2 years, 3 years. That's just the way it is. I don't think coaches worry about that. I don't. I just look at what we have and say, okay, how do we make this team? This team doesn't do it like last year's team did. I fit our defense around last year's strength. And this year, I fit this team's defense around this year's versatility. So, looking down from my perch or from my lens, I see how I want this team to defend, and I do the best I can to teach our assistant coaches how we want to guard actions and how we're going to guard sections of the floor, or whether the ball's in the post, whether they run some kind of flare screen or pin down, whatever. You have to take them and get them to be a cohesive bunch. I think just like any team, we're no different than anybody else. The more you play, the better you get.
We'll go to Joseph Duarte from the Houston Chronicle. Joseph, please go ahead.
Good morning, Kelvin.
Morning.
Kelvin, among the many stats and stuff that your staff tracks during games, do you track turnovers forced on like shot clock violations by the other team?
Yes.
What goes into a successful, just when you look at teams that, I guess there was the one team, forgive me if I'm wrong, Toledo this year, that was it Toledo or Troy that sort of slowed it down till the ends of the clock. But other than that, teams that just don't have the ability to get a shot off before the clock. What does that do from a defensive standpoint? Just how that all comes together for you guys to make things as difficult and time consuming for teams that just don't have a chance to get a play or find a pass or a lane open.
A lot of these teams are good offensive teams. I've noticed when we play a team, there's a tendency to talk about how bad that team is. Sometimes you have to dig a little deeper to find out, well, why were they that bad? But the success teams have against us is usually because they've got players that can break you down off the dribble, and maybe our help wasn't in the right spot. Like Alabama, we guarded their offense really good, and then the second half they just spread the floor and drove us, and we couldn't keep them off the free throw line. A lot of times we're playing good defense. It's just next thing you know, they're shooting free throws. Not a whole lot you can do about that. But as far as every kid on our team, when we play against a team, we scout that team, thoroughly to find out how we want to guard their favorite actions for their favorite players and how they go about getting that shot. So everybody's got to be on the same page, and we go through things in practice. But now that we're headed toward the middle of January, we're no longer playing in November. In November, you're in the oven. You're just, you turn the oven to what, 450? You gotta let it cook. We don't teach defense with a microwave around here. We put it in the oven and actually we preheat it. And then when the bell clicks, we put it in it. Then it still has to bake. So it just takes time. I would say that I don't think we're unique or special here how we do anything, because I don't think I'm that smart. I try to make it as simple as possible for our players, and they all learn. I think one of the most important things a coach can do is learn his players individually and learn how to coach that young man, because that young man may require more patience from you when you're explaining something. Maybe you have to go over to him and put your arm around your neck and ask him, help him ask you a question. Like a lot of, I'm not going to tell you who, but I've had kids that I put my arm around them and go over to him instead of raising my voice or getting upset. That doesn't help him. I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing it for them. So I put my arm around him and said, you understand what your responsibility is on this action. And I said, it's okay if you don't know, because if you don't, let's go over it again. Then if we need to go over it again, we'll do it again. But I'm very much A to B guy. I do not go to B until everybody understands A. And then once we do get A, then I'll rep it and rep it and rep it. Then we'll move to B. And then the same process. And then we move to C with the same process. And eventually over time. Now, you're not going to start in November being great. Now, our effort needs to be there. But until you learn what to do, until you know what to do, you've got to play like your hair's on fire. You can't play confused. You can't play like you're asking questions with every step with your body. You got to play with your hair on fire. You got to play as hard as humanly possible. Because now when you do learn how to do it, you do learn the concepts and timing and angles and all of the stuff that we all teach. You've mastered the most important thing. And the most important thing in basketball is still your attitude and your effort. And if as a coach you're teaching attitude and effort in the middle of January, then you've wasted a lot of time. Because those things have to be mastered first, and then the basketball part will come. And for those with great attitudes and great effort, they'll eventually get it and master it.